Once the mechanical universe's radiation covers the globe, every vehicle under a person's name becomes their exoskeleton mech, so the first thing he does after being reborn is spend $1 million on an 880-ton mining truck. The heavier and bigger and tougher the vehicle, the stronger the mech, but in his previous life, a passing mechanical beast crushed him like an ant because the only thing in his name was an unreturned shared bike. Now, he pulls out his phone and cashes out everything he can because there are only 7 days to build an invincible mech, and after a whole night of work, 5 million sits in his account. But the shell alone isn't enough, so the next day he spends 4 million on the 880-ton mining truck at a heavy machinery district, bigger than the 500-ton beast that killed him last time, then drives it to a black market mod shop for a RAM steel mesh and a mobile armory in the bed. When the truck stops at the shop entrance, he wants everyone to fear this thing, and the mechanic Lou de Paul stares at it and tells him he took a wrong turn. This is a repair shop, not a mine. He pulls out a blueprint and tells the mechanic he's here for modifications, not maintenance, ignoring the complaint about the cracked foundation, and offers 500,000 for labor. Liu Dapao's breathing goes heavy at the number, materials cost extra, and just then, a red Porsche roars up and the rich heir Zheng Ziro steps out, engine still screaming, and in his previous life, this man stole his only food after his sports car mutated into an agility-type mech and even kicked him into a pile of machinery to fend for himself. The moment Zheng Ziro steps out, he spots Linfen standing to the side, the same man who mocked him for riding shared bikes whenever he was bored, and asks if that junk by the door is his. He tells Linfen to move it aside if it really is his, but Linfen ignores him, no point arguing with a man who'll be dead in days, and pays an extra 200,000 for overtime. The windows get sealed with steel mesh, leaving only viewing slits, a triangular ram goes on the front, and the tires get wrapped in thick steel chain netting. Inside, it splits into storage and sleeping areas, the whole thing turned into a safe room, and by early morning of the third day, the Fortress Tyrant's basic build is done. After loading 300 tons of diesel and packing supplies at the city's biggest warehouse, he sleeps well that night, and it isn't until the last 24 hours that the sky turns grayish-yellow as a mechanical spark approaches Earth. The first wave isn't mechanical beasts, but thousands of vehicles mutating at once during rush hour, and he drives the Fortress Tyrant to a dead-end road with high ground and few people, as a purple shockwave tears the sky and the whole world lets out a metallic roar. Hearing it, the system confirms the Fortress Tyrant as an S-class mech awaiting orders, and a smile touches his lips as he slams the gear lever down. A double-decker bus on the radar has become a steel centipede, and as he charges toward the crossroads trying to link with the mech through his mind, it comes hurtling down the slope at him. Larger mechs instinctively prey on smaller ones, devouring their metal cores to evolve, and in these early stages he doesn't brake, he floors the gas straight at it. He drives forward and crushes the bus's body after the impact sends it flying backward off his bumper, and the next second, he mutters it's too weak and decides to check on an old friend, the system confirming 50 metal origin points for the kill, and he directs the Fortress Tyrant toward downtown, where a 4-meter humanoid mech stands at an intersection. Supercar-type mechs can develop full humanoid forms early on, and this one belongs to Zheng Ziro, whose vanity peaks as his voice booms across the intersection calling this power. He stares in shock at what he recognizes as that poor guy's car, a massive dark shape in the distance, certain that hunk of metal can't possibly move. Zheng Ziro charges his mech Scarlet Lightning straight at him, jealousy and fear drowning out reason, and in less than 2 seconds. But when he brings the blade down after crossing 100 meters aiming at a tire, it shatters against the steel, and the recoil blows his arm apart. He drives the Fortress Tyrant straight over Scarlet Lightning, seeing the blade break, and the red scrap gets pressed into a thin sheet as the system confirms 1 rare speed module fragment, but 3 mechanical beasts dive from the clouds. He hits a red button on the console as the concrete cracks and a burrowing type emerges from below, hydraulics roaring. He licks his lips as the camouflage tarp rips away, revealing twin-mounted 30 mortar cannons, eyes burning with a will to fight. He sits in the cockpit with 3 crosshairs locked on, the autocannons spinning up as the beasts dive with acid sacs open, and 200-meter streams of fire burst out before the lead beast can dodge. Burning fragments rain down on abandoned vehicles with a sizzle before the shells blow the lead beast apart in the sky, and he keeps aiming as the remaining beasts shriek and try to climb away. A barrage of shells catches the third beast Medea just as it opens its acid sac, detonating both together, while the second one, its lower half blown away by the autocannon, spins like a kite with a snapped string into the glass wall of an office building. A mutated heavy excavator bursts from the ground in a blast that rocks the 880-ton fortress and bulges the asphalt in waves, right as he's still breathing in gunpowder smoke and wondering if anything can make him taste defeat, its steel jaws already lunging at the left rear wheel. The reverse engine roars at full power and the fortress's wheels grind backward, forcing the excavator, whose teeth are jammed uselessly into the track armor, down into the ground in 5 seconds. The system registers a level 1 mutant kill worth 50 metal origin points, the excavator already pressed flat into the earth, but he just shakes his head and mutters that nothing heavier exists to challenge him yet. The low-level mutants crouch trembling on the ground, the intersection falling silent now that defeat is something he can't taste, and he ignores the small fry to press a button that extends flexible mechanical arms from Fortress Tyrant, the same maintenance arms from the mod shop now repurposed for scavenging. He feeds Fortress Tyrant the cores, a blue crystal pulled from the excavator's scrap and a speed module core from the flattened Ferrari, and a warm current spreads through the vehicle as strength ticks up by 0.5%, a skill fragment for instant acceleration logged but needing 10 more to unlock. About 200 meters behind, a small convoy of 3 cars and a panel van follows cautiously, the black beast rumbling ahead over the wreckage toward the logistics park and slamming aside everything blocking the road, and he's already picked them up on radar but doesn't bother chasing them off. But when the convoy reaches the bridgehead is already blocked by a dozen modified pickups and SUVs forming a crude barricade, men with shotguns and fire axes standing on the roofs looking vicious, and he figures these people riding his coattails will live a little longer, useful as an alarm if nothing else. They've taken over a key stretch of road to rob people fleeing for their lives, the evil in human nature surfacing just hours after the apocalypse began, and they order all vehicles to stop right there. In their eyes, any car leaving the city owes them a toll, the bald leader waving a red baton from atop a Range Rover, and while the cars behind him panic and try to turn around, he just shifts up and charges straight through. The bald man's cocky expression freezes as the massive shadow swallows the whole barricade, the black truck blotting out the sunlight, and he throws down his flag and tries to dive into the Range Rover with a panicked scream. He drives the fortress's ram straight into the barricade, one of the men managing a useless shotgun blast at the tire before the others can even react, and the impact sends the bald man flying before he reaches the car door. He doesn't spare them a glance and drives straight onto the bridge, the bald man already unconscious against the guardrail, the barricade gone in 3 seconds, grabbing the cores from those vehicles before leaving. He pulls Fortress Tyrant into a service area plaza to sort cores and deal with the followers, and soon the trailing cars stop 30 meters away, a middle-aged man stepping out with a pack of cigarettes while a young couple leans on each other, all trembling. He pushes open the cab door and looks down at them, the group having worked up the courage to approach, a young woman among them gripping a wrench, and he toys with a nail gun while telling them coldly they've been following him the whole way. It's a joke, him telling them to pay up for the gas, but it lands like a royal decree, and the middle-aged man hurries over thanking him and offering all their food and water just to keep following, which only earns a mocking smile. The young girl shouts they'll keep up even if it kills them, him asking if they can even keep up, and she says she knows he's heading somewhere to build a camp. She says she can be useful, a mechanical engineering student who can fix cars, and the other girl from the couple quickly adds that she can cook. A mechanic, a doctor, and someone for logistics, the middle-aged man pulling out his ID to say he's a surgeon who can treat injuries even without medicine, and he raises an eyebrow. Some chores need extra hands, a solid lineup for the early days even if the fortress itself is invincible, and after a moment of silence he speaks coldly. Jangziro dead, thugs gone, followers taken in, a perfect end to day one. He tells them he doesn't keep freeloaders, the words hitting like a blessing with monsters everywhere and human life worth nothing. And later he pulls a crumpled map, tapping a red-circled air raid shelter beneath Linhai City's western suburbs, a military depot disguised as an abandoned factory that holds the reactor component he needs next. The blast door was meant to need an electronic key and iris scan, but the EMP burned that out, leaving the 10-meter-tall, half-meter-thick slab as a dead end, until the convoy stops and the engineering girl Susu jumps out with a toolbox. She tells him the door runs on hydraulics and she can short the backup power or find the manual valve, jogging up to the tire and shouting at the dark cab, but the window only lowers a crack and a cold voice says too slow that absolute mass smashes through everything. The blast door, built to withstand a nuclear shockwave, cracks and shatters as 880 tons at over 3,000 horsepower slams into it after a 50-meter run-up, the whole thing ramming inward under pure physical force. The black vehicle rolls over the door's wreckage into the dark tunnel, the fortress having lost nothing but a little paint on the ram, and the survivors follow behind despite being dumbfounded, the tunnel pitch black around them. Red dots flood the radar, the only light coming from 4 searchlights cutting through murky air thick with motor oil and mold, and ahead in the tunnel, automated defense systems from the old military zone have mutated under the mechanical sparks radiation. A dense spray of gunfire erupts, the upside-down sentry guns swinging their barrels around with infrared sensors locked on, and bullets rain against the armor plating. An ordinary vehicle would be riddled with holes by now, the bullets hitting the front plating, but this isn't an ordinary vehicle. He doesn't flinch, skipping the 30 mortar cannon to activate the roof-mounted secondary weapon instead, the bullets leaving nothing but faint white marks on the marine steel plates, a twin-barreled high-pressure cannon originally meant for washing ore, now loaded with used engine oil from a gas station. Two black streams of oil hit the sentry guns, and right after, a flare follows, flames swallowing the entire ceiling. The mutated sentry guns explode under heavy fire in the tunnel, and though they had simple awareness, the convoy just drives around the burning wreckage. Susu hates seeing good servo motors go to waste, pained by the destroyed precision parts, right before he speaks over the loudspeaker. Susu jumps out with a team to strip the battlefield, after he gives them 5 minutes to scavenge usable parts, which is exactly why he brought a professional logistics crew along. Survivors and even the calm doctor go crazy grabbing supplies from the crates. In a massive soccer field-sized storage area they reach after passing through the long tunnel. He ignores the loot and stares at a red radiation warning sign posted on an isolated lead-plated chamber in the center, which catches his eye instead of the supplies. 3 glowing fuel rods sit inside the chamber, holding microfission batteries meant to run the base for 50 years after a nuclear war, which is the black tech he needs for his fortress's evolution. Fossil fuels like gasoline make up level 1 of the 3 energy levels that exist in the apocalypse. Being noisy and inefficient, this level also includes diesel. He uses a mechanical arm to grab the 3 rods, upgrading his fortress from level 1 to unlimited level 3 nuclear energy right before he moves forward. The cabin lights turn blinding blue as the truck's intake grill swallows the rods and triggers a system warning for forced assimilation, maxing out every gauge on the dashboard. Blue light blasts from his eyes as he screams in pain from the magma-like energy flowing through his veins, while the vehicle shakes and the engine shrieks like a jet. The truck doesn't look much different on the outside, even though assimilation is complete and it unlocked a nuclear drive, along with a deflection shield and overload ram skill. Terrified screams echo from the hall outside, just as his evolution finishes, leaving a faint blue glow over the truck's surface. He opens his eyes to see the hall has turned into a living hell, right after hearing the doctor's voice, screaming for help. A tidal wave of countless mechanical rats, each the size of a house cat, blocks the tunnel entrance they came through. A gigantic mutated garbage truck stands in the middle of the swarm, with its cargo bed turned into a massive breeding nest, while rats pour out of the vents and wall cracks. He coldly tells them they are asking to die, deciding to test his new deflection field as rats leap at Susu and the survivors are backed into a corner. The rats' circuit boards burn out on the spot as a semi-transparent blue light screen sweeps past them, bursting outward from the mining truck in all directions. He ignores everyone's shock and locks onto the Rat King after the rats crackle and turn into scrap metal, wiping out a huge section of the nest and saving Susu. A stream of green corrosive venom shoots straight at the mining truck, sprayed from the open cargo bed, as the enraged Rat King lets out a piercing roar. The venom hisses and vaporizes against the blue energy shield, splashing across the barrier as he charges straight into the toxic spray without flinching. The 880-ton beast breaks free from gravity as he channels the new nuclear energy into the propulsion system, showing what a level 3 power source does to a level 1 opponent. The mining truck's ram slams into the Rat King's chest, crushing its seemingly heavy armor after it speeds up like a blue meteor streaking across the hall. The vehicle is ripped apart in an instant, its armor acting like styrofoam against the nuclear-powered impact, drowning out the Rat King's scream with a massive explosion. The system notifies him that a level 3 mutant was killed and a biodegradation module acquired after its core shatters on impact, sending trash and parts flying everywhere. He flatly tells the stunned survivors to pack up for their next hunt as the hall falls silent and the godlike fortress stops in front of them with its blue glow fading. Susu stares in fascination at the truck's shimmering blue seams and new jet-like engine whine as the beast drives out of the shelter into the dusk over Linhai, tempered by nuclear energy. He points to the heavy-duty tow hook on his truck after stopping and making the nervous survivors jump out, realizing their shabby conv wouldn't last a minute against a zombie horde. He coldly cuts off Susu's worry about sharp turns after telling her to hook all their vehicles behind his truck, which makes her freeze and ask about the corners. The smaller cars won't have to smash through roadblocks, dragged behind the 880-ton nuclear-powered lead vehicle, even if their engines stall. Heading toward the Linhai City Ring Expressway, where thousands of abandoned vehicles clog the road, the mining truck drags the others along by sheer force to form a tight defensive conv. Using the massive front ram to shove blocking cars aside, he switches into low-speed cruise mode instead of despairing at the endless road, while the towed survivors watch the wreckage race past their windows in shock. Unaware that the noise is drawing sky scavengers, the doctor wipes cold sweat from his forehead and hugs his first aid kit tighter as a black cloud of mutated gargle drones appears on the radar and rushes toward them. Featuring sharp bony rotors and red compound eyes, there are at least 500 of these monsters fused from drones and birds of prey, with microbombs hanging beneath their bodies. Right before countless microbombs rain down from the black cloud overhead, their piercing buzz drowns out the engine's roar and shatters the windshield of a private car behind them, making the driver scream. He flies his fingers across the control panel to activate the nuclear shield at full power, leaving the fate of the screaming driver unknown as the familiar blue barrier rises again with the operational reactor. Forming a massive hemispherical dome over the smaller conv, the shield's expanded range absorbs the bomb strikes in waves of blue ripples before he laughs and activates the auto-defense system. The camouflage tarp slides away to reveal the twin-mounted auto-cannon turret, which locks onto the airborne targets and fires at will. Watching the diving drones slam into a wall of fire and rain burning fragments onto the shield, Susu grips the window frame tightly while completely stunned by the black mining truck standing firm at the center of destruction. Featuring enormous wing-like rotors and real aircraft cannons mounted beneath its nose, a massive Lord-class Ironwing Griffin descends from the clouds after the drone swarm fails to break through and spreads out. Firing 2 rockets that slam into the shield and make the blue barrier shake violently, the Griffin lands on the highway gantry and locks its red eyes onto the mining truck while alarms blare inside the cab. Pressing a red button just as the Griffin is about to fire a second volley of rockets, he jerks the steering wheel hard to speed toward the gantry using downhill momentum. Right before an incendiary round turns the monster into a massive fireball, a high-pressure stream of fuel mixed with nuclear radiation sprays onto the Griffin like a blue fire dragon. Crashing hard onto the highway like a meteor, the massive body loses balance as its metal feathers melt from the intense nuclear heat, igniting the aviation fuel. Flattening the helicopter armor under hundreds of tons of pressure to clear the skies, he drives straight over its body, showing no mercy as it lands right in front of the mining truck. Finding a wide open land with sturdy walls and an enormous underground parking garage perfect for a fortress, they arrive at the Linhai International Convention and Exhibition Center at midnight. He parks the massive mining truck in the middle of the plaza, jumping down with a can of beer to announce they are camping there, while the others climb out on shaky legs and stare at the unharmed vehicle in awe. Leaving everyone else to form the vehicles into a circle and set up a perimeter, he tells Susu to check the backup generators and orders the doctor to gather medical supplies inside the hall. Waking up to the roar of diesel engines and bouncing stones 3 days later, he had spent the calm time drinking beer on top of the mining truck while faint screams echoed in the distance. Closing in on the convention center under a cloud of yellow dust, the fleet of human-modified war machines features blood-red skull emblems and heavy weapons mounted on top of every vehicle. He recognizes the convoy as the Bloodskull Legion from his previous life, which surrounds a massive land cruiser converted from a flatbed trailer at the very center of the formation. Their leader Butcher specializes in hunting mutated vehicles for their cause, and soon the deputy commander demands the energy core over a loudspeaker right after Susu trembles over the radio that the main gate is blocked. The convention center falls completely silent as everyone looks at his vehicle, and he presses the loudspeaker button to tell the raiders to get lost or die since they want the energy core that acts as his heart. Right after he refuses their demands, the raiders burst into laughter and send dozens of flaming rockets slamming into the glass curtain wall while ordering the place blown flat. Flashing its blue shield with dazzling light as a barrage of bullets and rockets slam into it, the massive black mining truck smashes through the front glass doors and charges into the plaza. Leaving the raiders stunned, the attacks only send ripples spreading outward without damaging the truck, since they have never seen a heavily armored vehicle with its own energy shield. 2 rows of tightly packed launch ports suddenly pop out on both sides of the mining truck, adding to the threat of the 13 autocannon. Realizing it is a nuclear-powered vehicle, the Bloodskull Legion only grows more savage after 24 thermobaric bombs roar out to turn the vanguard into scrap metal. Enveloping the mining truck in a powerful electromagnetic wave from its 10-ton suction pad, the massive land cruiser roars into the plaza like a derailed train while they shout about ruling the world. Pushing straight into the land cruiser with an earth-shattering crash, he slams the truck into low-range 4-wheel drive after the electromagnetic waves are completely blocked by the nuclear energy shield. The land cruiser's front crumples on impact, the 2 vehicles slamming together hard enough to crack the concrete plaza, but its long body and 20 wheels keep it from giving way. The Butcher roars from the command tower, thick-faced, the cruiser having withstood the mining truck's charge. The massive electromagnetic suction pad slams against the mining truck's shield as he orders it to latch on. Red warning lights flash inside the cab as it tries to crush the shield with brute force, but he stays calm and speaks into the radio. Susu presses the detonator, the self-destruct robot already under the chassis near the fuel tank after he told her to blow it. The main driveshaft blows apart as the explosion tears through the undercarriage, igniting the fuel tank and giving him a brief opening. A blue shockwave visible to the naked eye erupts from the microram, the shield's energy field having compressed in reverse. The Land Cruiser breaks apart from the middle, the shockwave shooting straight through its body, its keel snapping clean. The raiders fall apart, the command tower crashing amid the butcher's screams as he drives the truck over the wreckage and grinds it underfoot, and they throw down weapons to flee in all directions. Susu and the doctor lead people from the shelters as he stops atop the burning wreckage to look over the battlefield, and they gather around the truck, cheering at the black beast towering over the ruins. The day after, he allows no rest and starts construction, the survivors now subjects of a new king rather than just survivors, the wrecked Land Cruiser leaving behind steel plating. Susu directs workers to weld the steel plates onto the walls, weapons and supplies pulled from the wreck, while the doctors set up a field hospital from the raiders' medicine. As for him, he parks Fortress Tyrant in the main hall, a startling decision. The micronuclear reactor begins powering the base, thick cables switch to core power mode, the lights and air conditioning starting up. The exhibition center becomes a city that never sleeps in the dead wasteland, water purification, and the giant screen coming alive, no longer a shelter but Tyrant City, and a month passes. He stands on the roof beside Fortress Tyrant, the city having doubled as survivors flock in, the truck now fitted with a crane arm that lets it shift into a gun turret. The radar picks up energy near the coast, 10 times theirs, and Susu walks over with a tablet, grim-faced, so he takes it. He feels no fear, only a fiercer will to fight, a mutated aircraft carrier rising from the sea on the screen, and he pats the truck beside him. This isn't the end, he tells Zhuangjia, their journey only just beginning.